I reckon it's impossible to be on the wide pavement at the sea walls and not look over the railing down at the gorge. And yes, we've got that relentless ribbon of traffic on the portway, but if you're lucky, you might glimpse a vessel plying up the waters of the gorge. Now, at one time, in the late 1700s, the only traffic below you would have been maritime. Nearly 1,000 ships used Bristol's port each year. Imagine the scene. There would be ships with their sails furled, riding the tide, drawn by men in fleets of open rowing boats or by pill hobblers towing from the paths. Now, it's a hazardous route, obviously, with the tide, and to add to the problem, when the vessels eventually berthed at the city's quays, they had to contend with the rapid rise and fall of the extreme tide range. What you needed were wharves with water at a constant depth. A local vicar, William Milton, had a solution. In 1791, he presented a scheme to the Society of Merchant Venturers to convert the port into a floating harbour. He planned a tidal bypass built to the south of the city to accommodate the Avon's tidal flow. And he wrote, our ships lay with much mischief, dry at their wharves, 8 hours in every 12, and without possibility of going up or down the river during the continuation of neap tides. Now, the council chucked the scheme out as being too expensive, but the Reverend Milton had an ally. He's related by marriage to a wealthy merchant, Amos Hellicar, from Abbotsleigh. And the following year, Hellicar offered to raise the money for Milton's suggestion. But at the time, there was talk of building a dam across the Avon to create a floating harbour, and Hellicar didn't like the plan. He wanted more consideration to be given to this leet idea from Milton. Now, it's 1793, the publication. And Hellicar, he published his pamphlet, and what he talked about was there was a proposal for a dam near where the Thekla is currently moored. But he warns in frenzied language of the adverse effects which it would cause. And this is how he wrote it. How will the trade and health of the inhabitants be affected by this immense body of water and mud pent back at the dam 30 feet high in a stagnated state for almost 2 miles? Notwithstanding the run of the fresh water has been near 7 miles an hour towards Bristol, overflowing its banks, laying all the fields near it under water, a considerable depth, carrying every bush and tree before it that obstructs its free run. Excuse me. And it is computed that at these times there are not less than 70,000 tons of water passing every minute under Bristol Bridge. When I reflect that there has been 43 feet of tide at Rownham, and that it flows 7 or 8 miles above the dam, filling every place, I cannot conceive that any attempt will be made to prevent the tide, when high enough, from entering the floating harbour. Apple boats, fishing skiffs, and other small craft, to the number of 16 or 18 for one chamber of a spring day. There may be 8 or 10 Y boats, faggots, and other marketings, with cider and corn, timber, hoops, 5 or 6 up-severn trows, and in general, they're so deeply laden that they seldom have more than 6 inches of freeboard out of the water. So he was really, he predicted serious consequences if you started to try and dam the river, in so much that the water's coming down on the Avon, and also the water, once the tide comes up, how do you get it back out? The city councillors weren't swayed by his histrionics about the dam, but it was never built, and nothing was built until 10 years later. And that was a highly regarded engineer who built what we see today, William Jessup. He got all the credit, but his scheme was remarkably similar to the vicar's original bypass plan, as it hinged on an essential component of the floating harbour, that leat, which is the new cut. Now, Amos Hellicar's ominous predictions about torrents of mud and tides coming down the Avon, well, you can thank the Northern Stormwater Interceptor, the mother lode, for saving us. It's a massive flood relief tunnel. It runs beneath the city from the Froome at Eastville, near IKEA, to Black Rock's quarry, just up from the sea walls. You can see the sluice is easy enough from the sea walls and from down by the portway. It was proposed in the 1890s, but we take a while in Bristol, don't we, to sort of get things done. I mean, our council house, or city hall as you might like to call it, took longer to build than the Parthenon. But this thing was proposed in 1890 and eventually built from 1951 to 1962, a major project. It has huge capacity tunnels to hold floodwater until low tide. So all this time, the river still isn't tamed, is it?